Hello and welcome. My name is JesseMcDesign and today we're going to be building this Faux Taxidermy Bat Rug. Let's get started. So as you can see, I went ahead and kind of sketched out my patterns I got going on here. I just kind of looked at my little reference I made. You can see it here. My original thought was I came across these monster rugs. They're just like a fictional creature thing. They kind of look like a faux taxidermy bear rug type deal, but I was gonna do something of that nature and kind of change it up a little bit, but then I don't even know what came across, but I decided to do this instead, which is this little bat. I think it's gonna work out perfect. The main body of the bat is gonna be this orangish, that's like the exact color, and then for the head and a little bit I'm gonna run down a little bit down the back. I'm gonna use this brownish, more brown color, and for the wings and the claws and the feet, I'm gonna use this faux leather. I think it's gonna be real nice. Each separate piece is gonna be fairly easy to come up with, but I think attaching them nicely so it looks halfway decent on the bottom, even though it is gonna be like a rug or like a big wall piece, so you'll never actually see the bottom. I do want it to look halfway decent. But what I'm gonna start to do now is the main body piece, I want it to be symmetrical. So I'm gonna start cutting out this side, and then I want to fold it in half to make sure the other side is as symmetrical as it can be. And then I want to cut out this little foot piece for the both feet. I'll just write ×2 for that on those. And then same for this big wing piece. I'm going to cut it out as one big piece, and then I'll go back and retrace out this arm here on, you know, this little scrap piece or something. We're going to start laying them out on our fabric we got and just start cutting these things out and kind of pinning them together and seeing what we got going on. I'm just writing down that this is a 1 yard that I went and got. It was actually on the clearance rack at Joann's, so that's good. It was fairly cheap. I wasn't sure how much I would need. I knew that it was gonna be at least enough for this one, but I do think I'm gonna make at least 2 of these, if not maybe 3. See when we start working it out and how fast it goes. So I'm gonna end up going back to Joann's and getting some more of this faux leather stuff. And I'm gonna trace directly to this, and then when I cut it out, I'll just remember and just cut out the extra bit, because I want to trace out that I know that this is where the pattern is supposed to end up being.
Perfect. Perfect.
Now that we got all our pieces cut out and ready to be sewn, I'm gonna start with all the smaller little leather pieces, like the claws and the feet and the ears and everything. I'm not gonna sew this, but I am gonna glue this. I'm gonna glue this to this, and then I'm gonna cut some relief cuts along the edge here and just do a simple fold over. And then I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna attach it to everything quite yet, but that's what I'm gonna do for the nose piece. After I sew up all these smaller pieces, we're gonna move on to like the big body piece, and I think I'm gonna be able to sew these the right way, like with everything inside out. And that's why I'm doing the feet and everything first, because they need to be sewn together and then put inside the, you know, like inside the hands or inside the legs before they get sewn together with. So when I turn everything inside out or right side out, it all comes together how it should be. So we're gonna start with all these small pieces. Then we're gonna actually move to the wings, because that's gonna be kind of tricky. I'm gonna do something similar with this. I'm gonna just glue the edges just to tack them in place, and then I'm gonna run my stitches. I think that'll be the easiest, since I'm not putting any of this back in on the wings. I want them to be, you know, leathery and skin-like how wings are. So let's sew up all this stuff, and then we'll come back before we get to these complicated pieces. Alright, so we got our little pieces here all done up. First thing is that I don't have too much experience with doing sewing type projects. I have probably 12 years ago in like 7th grade or whatever, you know, I have home economics class. We did like a little sewing thing, so I have basic knowledge. My template was like super sharp and pointy, but I actually like how these turned out a little bit rounder. So I'll just end up adjusting my template so they'll push out properly and look a little bit cleaner. Not that it looks bad like this, but, and then again, same with the toes, came out nice, but I'll just have to adjust my templates and stuff and remember that kind of stuff for the future projects. I also had to cut the lining off of these, because when I was turning them inside out, it was just making it way too thick and too hard to try and push these, you know, little points out. So I ended up just stuffing it afterwards, and nothing too crazy, you know, just a little bit to give it a little dimension. We also did the ears. They came out great. Did that little stitch around the edge to just kind of situate the edge of the ear, you know, and then also just bunched up. Having it fold like this kind of gives that natural bunch in the ear that just kind of makes it look like a natural fold. So those came out great. Also, you can see the little nose piece. I'm gonna have to figure out where this is actually gonna lay, and I'll just put little stitches in here just to hold it in place by hand probably. I think this is something that I might have to hand sew on. I think there's gonna be a couple things that we're gonna have to figure out that are probably gonna be hand sewn, but they came out, the pieces came out great. It's just gonna be trying to figure it out how to get them in there properly. But what we're gonna do now is move on to these wings. What I went ahead and did was cut a bunch of relief cuts in this, because it's a bunch of curves and it's gonna be hard to do what I wanna do. And what I'm gonna do is just kind of put a light layer of glue on this and just kind of tack all this in place, just so it'll be easier for me to sew up. I'm gonna just basically run this same kind of edge along this, and then that'll help hold all that in place before I go in and put the final backing layer on the whole rug when it's finished. And then once we do that, we're gonna run our little pleat lines, and we'll have to figure out exactly where those line up. I have little, I don't know if you can see that there, but it's like a little W, and then that's gonna line up real nice like that, kind of see that. And then we'll just go ahead and connect it to the proper point here, which I'll have to look at my template to make sure I do that properly. And then we'll just, you know, pinch it up and run a stitch line all the way along that. So when we bring it back out, it'll create a nice little vein pucker that'll be like the little, you know, little finger digits that come off the wing. We're just gonna start to get to this glue in. Since we don't really have too much thread, we won't be able to sew any of this up. I'm probably not even gonna start because it's gonna be annoying just to have to rejig my sewing machine back up. So let's get started. We got this all sewn together. I left the little in between the legs open. I feel like I'm probably just gonna have to fold that edge in and just run a seam on top, which should be fine because I'm gonna have to go around the whole outer perimeter once we cut out our backing material. If everything went the way it should, when I pull this inside out, it should be the whole main bat body. So I'm pretty excited to see what happens. And there it is, starting to come together. I'm gonna have to end up going around the edges and cleaning things up here and there once we get to the very end. What I want to do now is start figuring out these the pleats on these. So I'm just gonna simply fold these over. And then I'll have to do that 4 times for each of these, and I'm gonna run them through the machine right now. So we're coming up to our final little details here. The last thing we really have to do is finish off this headpiece, which is a little complicated, but I think we'll be able to pull it off and it'll be alright in the end. I went ahead and stitched on the nose. It was fairly simple, just a simple stitch around the edge here. And then I started doing this here. I cut a simple slit in the head fur here and just inserted this, and then we flipped her upside down and stitched all around this little opening here. Don't know how well, yeah, there you go. And we just stitched around there. I already got this slit slightly started. I'm gonna make it, I have to make it a little bit bigger. And I'm gonna stitch on this here, and then we're gonna start working out how we're gonna attach this to the main body piece. I went ahead and bought some Velcro strips, and I think get this in place, and then we're gonna stitch the back section, the back couple inches, and then that'll show me where to start the Velcro at. And then we'll probably, you know, if we stitch to here, we'll Velcro all the way around the front of this to the other side. And I should have enough of this. I got 2 of these, which should be plenty. And then that's how we're gonna end up attaching it to the body. With doing that Velcro piece, we'll be able to undo it and take this off and actually wear this whole thing as some sort of like a capelet type of deal. And I think might be able to get this crazy hood action going on. This isn't very deep, but I mean, you know, just kind of funny thing to do. This works out nice, and the little hood piece kind of, you know, makes sense and kind of works. Then we'll line this with probably the same fabric. Let's get this other ear stitched on and start working it to the main body.
Perfect.
Alright, so there you have it. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. There is a few things that aren't the best. I might not sell this. I might just have to keep this for myself. I definitely learned a lot in this whole process. I'm not really one that sews a lot. I've done a couple basic things here and there. This whole thing obviously came together pretty well, but just a couple things like just going slower is better, is actually faster than going fast. That even makes sense. And just different things like at the very end, I glued down the body onto this bottom piece to kind of help hold it in place, and it still moved around a little bit and made these wings not as nice and flat as I was hoping. Again, you know, this is like a creature, it's a rug, it's not going to be quite perfect or anything. Also, you can tell the ears here, I decided to leave them floppy. I was going to put the piece of wire in there like I was talking, but it's just a bunch of nonsense, you know, and it looks alright with them floppy like this. So if I were to do the skin, which I probably will, I might do, you know, another one in this orange and then another one that's all the brown that is the face. You know, this body isn't very big. I have fur that I can do a couple of them, or I might try another creature, who knows. Overall, super happy with how this came out. I like the little border that I added around the whole thing. It looks great. You know, his little feet and little claws came out nice. Can't really complain about that. If you really wanted to, you could wear this as some weird cloak thing. Again, you could take the foam skull out of this if you really wanted to, and it would fit over your head a little bit nicer, but you know, that's just something that kind of happened. I wasn't really going for that. If you can have something work out in multiple ways, why not, you know? Someone that might not want this as a rug might wear it as a weird cloak thing. Someone who might not wear it as a cloak thing might want it as a rug. Or also, this would look great hung up on a wall. You know, if you had it hung up on a wall like this, I think that would look great too. Another thing you want to take into consideration is, you know, the main portion of this isn't very big, but the wingspan is very long. I'm 6 foot. It's honestly a little bit longer than that. So it does take up space. You know, this rug that black rug I'm on is a pretty big rug. It's like 7 by 4.5 or something like that. So you can see how big this actually is. But if you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up. It really helps. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe. I'm always over here creating new things, decor, furniture, art, who knows? Leave a comment below what I should do next. See you on the next one.